Hello, CV Academics Foundation and AMP Honors Program members, and welcome to another edition of What's on Tap. I'm here at Echo Park in Burlington, where our next guest is a part of the fire department. What's different about our next guest is he's a real-life hero. What a lot of people in medical school know is that you need your CPR and your basic life support and your AED training, but what most people don't know is that you do have to use it at some point in your life. This gentleman that I'm about to talk to had to use it and saved another individual's life. He's a real life hero, and I really enjoyed our conversation today. I hope you do as well. So here I am with Josh Spencer, who's a part of the Burlington Fire Department, and we're just gonna have a good conversation with Josh about an accolade he received for resuscitating an individual who's alive to tell the tale. So without any further ado, Mr. Joshua Spencer, how are you today, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Good. So something on our platform, our students are ranging from high school to undergrads and college with some professionals, and most people understand from the time you're a babysitter until you're a professional, you have to maintain some sort of CPR, AED, basic life support certification, but you never know you're gonna have to use it. You have it in your back pocket, you never expect to use it. So can you enlighten us on that story of you resuscitating someone, what that felt like and what it means to you now?
Ooh, it's a pretty deep question. So kind of backtracking a little bit about, when you're younger and having to get AED and, learning how to use an AED and learning about CPR, you never have the intent that you want to use it, right? I mean, it's always if I need to, I can help out, but in the back of your head, you never want to have to use that, right? My line of work, we know we're going to use it, right? The first time you perform CPR generally the first time you perform CPR is when you're on the job, right? For most professionals. I'm in the point of my career now that when we perform that, it just becomes part of the job, right? So you have to put yourself in that zone per se, right? And we have protocols that we have to follow, and so when we perform CPR now, we have a checklist, right? And we go to that checklist and we just start following it all the way down. And it becomes, you want to maintain empathy for that individual, right? Because a lot of times family's watching and, there's always a crowd. Nowadays everybody's got their cameras and, being videoed all the time. So you're trying to be that utmost professional. But yeah, it's, in the line of EMS, it does become just one of the tools in our toolbox that we become very good at. I tell our individuals at the department, that's like our bread and butter. I mean, something that we should be good at, that we shouldn't have to talk to each other. Like, what am I gonna do? What are you gonna do? Is CPR using the AED. Only because it is very structured from the top of the checklist all the way to the bottom. That you need to be in sync, and it shouldn't matter if it's my everyday partner every shift, every third day, or if it's you and I. We should train on it enough to where it's a checklist, and we make sure that we hit that checklist every single time performing CPR.
So being in sports medicine and having practiced CPR in a clinic, and again, practice completely different. How do you personally, when you're practicing with the person you work 3 or 4 times a week with, or person A that just walked in the door, how do you make that feel realistic?
As in, like, with different partners, or training versus actually having to do it?
Training versus actually having to do it.
As far as the training aspect of things go, I mean, you can't use somebody that's alive to perform cardiac arrest and to perform CPR. But what you can do is you can set your trainings up that, we go with mechanical CPR, right? We'll do manual CPR, which is we'll have our mannequin that we'll perform that on until we can get our mechanical device on. And when we put that mechanical device on, we have an actual person laying there, and they're just to lay there, right? Don't assist them, don't nothing. So now you have to work with that with your partner, and then it's get the pads on. So we do try to integrate human, real life if you can, right? Because it's like that with anything, when it comes down to training versus doing it in real life. how do you make that as real as possible? In order, you substitute where you can.
Yeah. Now, again, moving from training to real life, you always have in the back of your head, this could go very, very wrong, and I'm going to have to dig into my toolbox.
Yep.
And I have one story from grad school where we had a player collapse, and everything rushed into my head.
Yep.
I was trying to remember what all the bones and the foot were and where the AED on the field was, and some of it had nothing to do with the situation.
Sure.
So when you approach that situation where it is emergency medical service, how do you pull the emergency out and maintain calm and keep your head in a space of, this is my checklist, this is 1A, 1B, 1C?
That's a really good question. Really good question. And I think some people just are naturally good at being able to take a deep breath, stay within themselves, because at this point we're talking greater than just CPR, right?
Yeah.
We're talking anything, right?
Yep.
So I think sometimes you can't. Some things you can't teach.
Yeah.
Some things you will learn as you progress. The more you do it, okay, I've seen this before. I know this is what we need to do. It tends to be that the first time you see something, everything rushes into your head. Like, okay, do I need this? No. And it's the check in, check out, right? Do I need this? No, I don't need that. All right, moving on to the next thing. The more you do it, repetition, right? And the more you do it, then you can walk into something with confidence, knowing what you're going to do. All right, I've done this before. So life experience, repetition, good training. I mean, that's where individuals that don't just have that knack. Some people say I have that knack. I don't know. If I do, I do. If I don't, I think that I'm rather calm most of the time. I don't let the scene get too big. You try to just stay within yourself.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, life experience, repetition, and training are key.
And just kind of bouncing off of that term, life experience.
Yeah.
Something that most people, God willing, will never have is the experience of saving a life. And by no means, we had a conversation off camera, and by no means were you pompous about it. You didn't brag about it, but what does that feel like? What is, when you think about that, and it's not like you're holding on to it like a badge of honor, but you are someone's hero.
Goosebumps. See that? You get goosebumps. It's you gave somebody another opportunity. Really, is what it comes down to. I don't look for the accolade. That's not why we get in this line of work. At least most of us.
Yeah.
It wasn't just me. We had a team there. It was my partner included. If it wasn't for my partner taking care of the airway, he did his job. I did my job as far as the AED goes. We had another department that came in that assisted us. We had the police department that came in. All in all, we had, 8 to 10 individuals that were assisting on that call.
Yeah.
And it was collectively, right? If we're missing one person, the outcome probably changes.
Yeah.
So it comes down to everybody just working fluently. But how it feels, it's a pretty incredible feeling. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
To know that an individual gets to go home and see their loved ones, or their loved ones, get to have another conversation, with that individual. It's pretty incredible. To put it into words is really tough.
It's goosebumps.
It is. That's exactly what it is. I don't know. I really don't think about that aspect of it.
Yeah.
I don't think about, I'm going to save this guy so that I can get myself a plaque or a pin or whatever. It's not what I think about while I do it. I think about putting every ounce of knowledge and effort I have into somebody so that they can see their family again. That's what drives me to do it.
That's awesome. What keeps you coming back to being a firefighter day in and day out? You're not working an easy job. You've got 3 kids. You're probably not working the easiest hours every day.
No, no.
But what brings you back?
I think it's the people.
Okay.
It's my kids asking me questions every day I come home.
Okay.
It's the love for EMS. I love being a firefighter. Right. When I first started, going on my 20th year, I started as a volunteer, and that's all I did was fire. Right. I was a big fire buff. I enjoyed it. I loved it. And then as things evolved and full-time employment came about, I needed to really embrace EMS. And EMS was a whole new adventure for me. It was a whole new avenue. It was, it's a puzzle that you're always trying to figure out, right?
Yeah.
As we go, the sirens are going right now. I mean, it's just.
Which truck is that? Is that the big truck or?
That one, it's our other ladder truck that's
Gotcha.
going out. Or that's another ambulance that's coming, actually, probably from out of town. But it's the adrenaline, right?
Yeah.
See, there they go. So my guess is we probably have another call going on right now, and then we work with other area departments that come in and they'll cover calls for us if we don't have the staffing to cover it. But that's right there is what drives me to keep going, right? Is to give back to the community. You get the smile, you get when you walk in the door and that relief,
yeah.
right? They're like, oh, somebody's here. That's what keeps me coming back. And my kids watching me go to school later in life, and my son now being 17, wanting to do what I do. I mean, you want to talk about something that really makes you feel good about what you do is when your son says, I want to be just like you. And I said that to my dad when I was his age.
Yeah.
And my dad had a great career. My dad had the coolest job. I ended up working with him for 15 years. But he looked at me. He's like, "No, you don't. No, you don't." And I said the same thing to my son. And he's like, "I want to do what you do." He's like, and I'm like, "No, you don't." Yeah. And I've watched him take care of his little sisters.
Yeah.
And he's got it. He has that knack. He has that calmness about him. Mm-hmm. The higher the pressure, the calmer he gets. Yeah. So it's pretty cool to see, So he's going to be going into the EMS side of things here in the next couple of years, along with the fire, and it's pretty special to see. But yeah, that's what keeps me coming back. That, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love doing it. I've been doing it full time now for six years as of Monday.
Happy anniversary.
Well, thank you. And I haven't worked in 6 years. I haven't. I mean, I work with the biggest toys and the coolest people and the most exciting job in the world, and I wouldn't change anything.
I mean, it's crazy to think about. I mean, from my perspective, it's one of the first questions you ask a young kid is, what do you want to be when you grow up? Mm-hmm. And some of them say firefighter, mm-hmm. and they never end up getting to be a firefighter.
Right.
You saying, I get to play with the biggest toys, I get to be with my friends all day, every day. Like, you are the embodiment of that 6-year-old dream. Yeah. And just hearing you talk about it is exciting. Yeah. Like, I'm getting goosebumps for you. That's amazing.
Yeah, no, it is. It's something special and on top of it, the icing on the cake to me is that I get to do it in my hometown. I was born and raised here. We don't have a lot of staffing with our fire department, so it's rather difficult to get a job in with our department. We don't have 100 full-timers, we have 8. Yeah. So to be one of those individuals is really, really special to me. And that also helps going on calls. A lot of people in this town. I mean, it's something really special when you can walk in and be on a first name basis right away with a patient and they're already at ease and they feel better when you walk through the door. Yeah. And that's another driving force to make sure that I stay on top of my game is I'm doing my job for friends, for family, and then the individuals I don't know. Yeah. So that also keeps me motivated to be at my best at all times.
Awesome. Last question. Like you said, your son's going through it. Your son's going to walk into EMS. He's going to walk into the fire. Yeah. Your guidance to him, what does that look like? What does that feel like? What are you saying to him? What are you telling him to prepare for? How are you helping him get?
The conversations are getting deeper.
Okay.
When he first became interested, they were real. I was very protective of what I told him, right? You don't see any of the bad. Yeah. You see all the good stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Now, as he grows and he's going into his junior year of high school, the conversations are getting deeper, mm-hmm. right? This is really what happened. This is what we're looking at. This is why we are safe. This is why we do things the way we do. This is why we have a checklist. It's just a much deeper conversation, and then I do give him a little bit of the dark side of this is really what you're going to get into. Yeah. I don't want to hide anything from him, mm-hmm. and I think he's receptive to that. I think it's helping him grow as an individual. And I don't want him to be surprised by anything.
Yeah.
You know, and he still has the excitement for it.
Yeah.
Which leads me into I think he's going to do fantastic at this job.
What's your biggest piece of advice to him? Or anybody getting into the fire department, EMS side of things?
My biggest advice: don't lose your passion.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Once you lose the passion, you become calloused.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes just another day. You start to treat people differently, right? When we go through this, we're told you treat everybody like they're your family, right? Everybody has their grandmother, their grandfather, mother, father, brother, sister, whatever, you name it. Treat them like family. Mm-hmm. Once you become calloused, you lose that.
Yeah.
And you treat them just like it's just another part of the job, right?
Like they pulled the next number at the deli counter.
And then you become irritated and you become angry, and keeping your passion is what sustains a long career, and it keeps the stress level down. Mm-hmm. It keeps you happy, right? That would be my biggest advice to him. Mm-hmm. If you lose the passion, go find something else. Yeah. Because it's only going to get worse. So I think it's like that with anything, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
If you have a passion, sports medicine, you have a passion, stay with that passion, right? Stay with that. Yeah, exactly. If it becomes, I got to go make the donuts, and it becomes just every day, go find something else. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time. Thanks for meeting us outside on this gorgeous day.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm
helping us out with our platform.
Oh, yeah. I'm really excited. Really excited to see where this goes.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, sir.
Absolutely.
Have
thank
a great
you.
Day.